Hello, critters, and welcome to UK Versus. Following on with this week's theme, we have a rare video for you, as well as the fact that this is one of our busiest weeks for videos. On the build-up to Worlds, we're getting more hype going for Heroes of Exandria, especially with the pre-releases coming up in a couple of weeks, starting February 28th. Do go check out your local game store or UGN to find out where they're happening. But today, myself and Richard are going to be taking a look at some of the rare Chaos cards that will be showcased off and playable within Heroes of Exandria Critical Role. And I am really excited to see these cards and what they can actually do. But before we get into them, how are you doing, Richard?
Yeah, I'm all good. We start to get to look at the sort of higher rarity ones today, and this tends to be the sort of playground of the more sort of constructed playable cards, right? Those sort of rares, ultra rares, secret rares are where they tend to be more impactful from that perspective. So that's sort of where it gets my juices flowing, right? If you want to get your hands on these, obviously, go check out your LGS, sign up for the pre-releases from the 28th of February all the way through to the official release on the 7th of March. And obviously, go check out all the other content creators who are showing off all the other symbols and obviously giving their thoughts on stuff throughout this week up, like I say, Brett says, up until the lead up until Worlds. But yeah, let's get on and look at some of these rares.
Yeah, so let's start off with my boy, Caleb Widogast. With Caleb Widogast's Web of Fire, 4 diff, 3 control, 4 high with 3 damage, 1 high block, powerful 3 spell, Mage Blitz. Each rival loses 2 health, and each rival backup loses 2 stamina. Mm-hmm. Only playable if your character is the Mage, and powerful 3 being an ability that allows you to spend momentum to give your attack plus 3 damage. Yeah, this is solid.
Yeah, it's really going to depend on whether backups are more of a thing in the meta in terms of it being constructed playable. It being a 1 high 4 diff with powerful 3 just makes it good enough for limited, right? And burns them for 2. Because this is always going to burn someone for 2, so that's pretty solid.
Well, it's not always going to burn someone for 2, because it has got fire on there.
As long as you're playing a mage. And I think, realistically, if you want to play this, you want to have that mage trait to trigger that blitz. Otherwise, it's fairly vanilla. Still probably playable in limited, even if you don't have a mage. But obviously, they've done a thing with this set in terms of there's a whole variety of backups that provide your character with certain traits as long as those backups are in play. So you could have a mage backup in play, which is providing that trait, which allows you to use that blitz.
Yeah, go check out a video about multi-classing, but if you've got Sean Gilmore, the backup in play, that gives your character the mage class, which means that you'd be able to use the mage blitz regardless of what your character actually says, which is very cool and gives you access to this burn ability. I think that's great for opening up design, but I said all that in the video anyway.
Yeah, so... and again, the power level of the card depends on whether things like that are things people are doing, right? In terms of playing those backups to provide those abilities from the set, and also backups on Attack on Titan. Whether if they're being a bit more in the format, then just being able to nug them for 2, I think will be quite nice and quite useful, especially if people like Caduceus is sort of running rampant in the format, or Zeke Jaeger. With all their a variety of backups, then having this sort of effect of I'll burn you for 2, I'll burn all them for 2, and then I'm coming in for this big attack.
And Zoe 1 gets some great stuff.
So I think solid. Again, very much depends on whether you can reliably have the mage trait, i.e. either you have it on your character or you're building in regards to have it because you want it for other reasons through those backups. I think it's sort of unplayable constructed without it. I think you probably even want to have the mage trait in on your main character to really want to do this. But powerful 3 burn, guaranteed burn for 2, and potentially nug some of your backups if you're playing them as well with a nice little block. Might be a role player, not sure. Certainly very playable in limited.
This does raise a rules question, which I will need to get answered. If my opponent has a Smiling Titan down and uses Smiling Titan to say I have to attack it, and that puts Smiling Titan on 2 stamina, if I play Caleb with a gas and I have to declare Smiling Titan is my target, and then I blitz and Smiling Titan dies, what happens to my attack?
The attack just ends. The attack step ends. It's the same with all of them. Because there's obviously multiple ways of having a backup get destroyed during an attack in a way, and at that point, effectively the attack gets aborted and stays in your card.
There we go. But if I was a mage, I'd definitely be running this because it's 2 damage, which is missing those lovely words of cannot reduce your opponent below 1. This is a spell that can kill.
And even without it, right, it being like an off-zone powerful 3, this can easily be coming in for sort of 9 damage with a couple of momentum. So
I would happily sit there as Jester and play this once a turn. I mean, with Jester, you can pick up essentially 2 a turn and just keep burning your opponent for 4.
Yeah, and the other thing to note about this card is obviously all the ones we've shown in our previous 2 videos have all been attuned. This one is not. Yes. And also only has 2 symbols, which is not something I can remember really happening much previously, if at all.
Outside of characters for AOT, I don't think I've seen 2 symbol characters.
No.
I know they probably exist in the Mysterious Lands of Retro, but it's nothing we've seen. This is new. This is new to us.
Yeah. So this is obviously Chaos and Fire symbol rather than attuned. So this is a change they have made from Attack on Titan going into Critical Role in the common uncommons, and I think some rares will still be attuned, but then the higher rarity cards are symbols, like normal symbols. So if you want to play them, you have to mean it in terms of the symbol, which I think, given a lot of the power level tends to be at the higher rarities, I think that makes a lot more sense. Those kind of playing pieces, the sort of foundation-y key, those sort of more generic stuff, the common rarity and uncommon being you can just sort of play, I think is fine. And then your rares and ultra rares and secret rares that are more driving your strategy being you have to mean it from a symbol perspective makes a lot more sense to me. So
having, say, things like Risky Encounter or any of these very powerful Attack on Titan attacks and basically going, oh, yeah, this isn't attuned. You have to have the death symbol. You need to be playing on the death symbol. Would have made this a lot more would have made them a lot less powerful than they were. Rather than going, you can play this on any character that's got this. And I think this is a solid move to go, these are powerful attacks, so you need to be playing this symbol to use it. But if we look at the rare foundations, they're still attuned going, we want you to have access to these these powerful cards for your foundations, but the attacks, the things that your opponent's going to be interacting with, we kind of need to rein those in a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Frozen Spray, a 5-diff, free control, 5 mid for 5 damage, 2 low block, stun 1, ranged spell, freeze 1 foundation in each stage. If your character is a mage, freeze 1 foundation in each rival stage instead. So this is very cool because it doesn't say committed. So you can just choose one of your ready foundations, and as long as you don't commit that throughout the entirety of yours and your opponent's turn, the freeze doesn't matter. But it does kind of put a target on your board going, your opponent goes, I can get them down a resource if I can get them to commit out.
Yeah, that's true. I think you're probably not going to play this at least in a constructed deck unless you've got the mage trait, right? Because you never want to have that be a thing. Again, in limited, totally playable, like a 5 mid 5 stun 1, freeze 1. I'll freeze 1 of mine. Who cares? With a nice off-zone block, going to be very solid from a limited.
I don't know. There's probably some mad lad out there who putting Shoto Todoroki free that'd be like, yes, more freeze.
Yeah, or Lock or something, I don't know.
I don't think Lock has Chaos or Water.
Oh, I can't remember his symbols.
I think it's all Earth and Order.
Order? Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, so again, solid. It being a very, very mid, not from a constructive perspective, but again, it's going to be solid and limited. And if you're wanting to do a lot of freeze things, like if you're playing some sort of freeze tribal, and you probably just want as much of that as you can just to ruin your opponent's life as possible, then, this is always going to be an option.
I think the one thing that annoys me about the card is you can't freeze the foundation you stun.
No. But, there's a good chance your opponent's going to have some resources you can freeze anyway. It's very rare that you go into a completely ready board.
I mean, if this is the first attack you're throwing of the game, then your opponent's probably not got anything.
Yeah. So again, going to be okay, but not exciting.
But you kind of then also go into your opponent. Do you want to block this? What if you check a 3? You're going to lose the foundation. Yeah.
So yeah, okay. A little unexciting from a rare perspective, but might find a home in some sort of. I just want as much attack and as many attacks and foundations that say the word freeze as possible style decks.
I can't wait to see your reaction, how you're going to have this card. Leave it to chance. Beautiful art on this with the party in Vexalia just using a red ruby to try and open the door. 3 diff, 5 control, 3 mid with response once per turn. After you make a check, recheck by rolling a d6 and using the result.
I think this is really cool. I don't know how much I like the idea of bringing dice rolling into the game, but I think a very modest amount, like if this is like maybe 1 or 2 cards, just to fling a bit of flavour in, I'm okay with. I think actually this might be quite good. Like, you check a 3, right? And you're like, well, I may as well recheck because you've got a 50% chance of you getting a better check, right? It could be worse, but you've got a 50% chance of getting better than a 3. You've got a 2/3 chance of it being at least as good. Sure, you've got that 1 in 3 chance of it being worse than the 3 you've just checked. And especially if you're doing Mad Lad things like 1 checks, although you're probably not playing a 3 diff foundation in that deck. But just as a once per turn, I'm gonna gamba like if I check the 3, this is going to fail anyway. Let's roll, see if I can pass it, and hope for the best.
So would you play this in a Storm of Blades deck?
No, because it's a 3 diff foundation. You're not allowed to play 3 diff foundations in 1 deck. That's banned. And also, yeah, you'd have to find some character that has because I don't know if the Stormblade has a chaos symbol. It's
Stormblade is chaos.
It's air, void, and another symbol. We'll
find out. I'm sure Richard will set you up. I like this from a chaos kind of just result. I don't think I would ever actually play this competitively.
It does have chaos symbol, so you could play it, but it's a 3 diff foundation in the 1 check deck. That's kind of banned. I don't know. I think this might be better than you think it is. It's probably not one necessarily to taking up that 3 diff slot in a
that's just it. As a 3 diff slot, I want my Award the Victors, 3 Eyes of Hihei.
Well, you want it to be guaranteed to do the thing that it does, right? Rather than it gives you a chance. But there's so many. Just think about the amount of times you've played a game, right, where you've hinged on if this is a 3, I lose. If it's a 5, I win, right? And having a card on your stage that says, "I get to have another go," right? You get to recheck.
See, the card doesn't say that to me. The card, this card to me says, the Goddess of RNG says you get a 1 and and your turn ends because this ends your turn.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it doesn't say failing that new check starts turn. So it's a little bit like, what is it, Advice for Winners that says you get to recheck if you check a 3.
Yeah.
After you play a printed 3, you get to recheck. And that's like a flip on a 2/5, which was okay. And I didn't really see any play. But this doesn't really have a cost, right? It's just the cost is taking up a foundation slot on your stage, and it's a foundation slot in your deck as a 3/5. But it's not like a flip. You have to sort of choose when to use it. It's not commit cost. It's not spending momentum. It's just once per turn, you can potentially buy yourself out of a bad check.
I tell you what. I would only play this if we paired it with the next card.
I think this might be better than you're giving it credit for. The issue is the consistency element of it in that,
it's fun. I would definitely play it in a raid deck. I'd definitely play it for a locals or a scramble deck. But for a competitive deck, if I was going to regionals, I do not want something that 50% of the time is going to give me a terrible check.
Yeah, but you sort of almost save it for when the check is terrible anyway, right? So
So
I don't know.
do anything. That's just it. You're basically going, I have a 50% chance of boosting my check by 1. I have a 33% chance of boosting my check by 2 or 3, and I have a 16.5% chance of boosting my check by 3. I also have those exact same odds of reducing my check, and I have a 50-50 chance of having the same check or worse. So
yeah, I think this might be okay almost as a one-off of, like I need to try and hit it on this. I need to hit my 5 to win because it's the last tack in my string sort of thing. I mean, I'm just thinking. I mean, that's possibly just like best case scenario. And most of the time, this is bad. But like, imagine you've got it doesn't say unique. Like you've got 2 or 3 of these out, right? You're just like, okay, I checked a 3. It really needs to be a 5. I'll roll my dice. It's a 1. Shit. I'll trigger my next one. I got a 4.
And can you do that?
What?
Can you respond that text? It says you have to use the result.
You recheck by using it, so you're rechecking.
You recheck, and then you go by using the result.
Yeah, so you effectively now. So I check a 3, I roll the dice, I get a 2, right?
Yeah.
So I'm now checking a 2. I've checked a 2. I'm now going to recheck, and I'm going to roll the dice again using my second copy of
But yeah, I would play it. I would play it in draft, or I'd play it in limited or for fun. If I was pairing it with Fortune's Favor, the Isic Phaelus card, 2 diff, 4 check, 3 low block spell with 2 responses. 1, after your rival fails a check, your next check gets +1. And response, remove after you fail a check to play a non-attack card. Your combat phase does not end.
Yeah. So effectively, that's just going to be either them trying to play an action and failing, or
securing the build.
What do you mean?
So if I play 3 attacks, if I play 3 attacks, and I go, I'll play this on a 2. I'll play my 2 diff foundation on a 5. Checks a 3. I have no foundations up. I go, cool. I've got this 1 foundation up. I go, cool. I'll remove this. My turn doesn't end, and then I'll try and build the rest of them out.
Yeah, so that's obviously where you can do that, or like, you're playing another build turn. Again, I think that's reasonably narrow that you'd want to remove a foundation to do that. It's more like, I think that's going to be the narrow thing that might come up occasionally.
Oh, God.
You're mainly playing it for the top one. So they fail a check to block, and then your next check to pay attack gets +1 if they fail.
Richard?
Yeah?
Fortune's Favor Blue Flame Torment.
Right.
Check a 6. If you fail it, my next check gets +2, and I get 1 damage.
Yeah. So that's sort of what you're playing it for, right? Is that top response.
God.
And then every so often that bottom one might become in handy, but I think it's the main one is the top one. So again, like in Dabby 3 that are make lots of checks. Again, the more checks you can make an opponent make, the better this comes, because you're just forcing them to just flip lots of cards, and then it's like, well, I've now got +5 to my next check because I've made you check on a 7 from Vile Seizing or whatever. Like, it's
check on a 7 from Vile Seizing. That next check is +1. Yeah.
So I think that's, as long as you've got ways of making them make a checks, then I think this is going to be good just to massage your turn, or like, it's unlikely that you're going to get to trigger this for effectively.
It punishes your opponent for trying to take the risky block as well.
Yes, exactly. So again, if they fail a block, it's like, okay, cool, I'll respond. My next check gets +1. So, you'd probably want a good few ways of trying to force this through things like.
Am I actually going to build Dabby 3 after this set drops?
Yeah, so there's cool thing you can do with this card, right?
Oh,
so again, it's a little narrow. Like, I think relying on natural just checks happening to trigger this, I think it's not going to be good enough. But I think if you're forcing checks through Blue Flame Torment, through Dabby 3, through Roll Seizing, that sort of thing, then I think this becomes a lot more palatable and just massaging your turn greatly in terms of your checks throughout your turn.
Yeah. You also got the fact you can play this with ESIC and go, cool, recheck. It won't end your turn, but if you fail this, I'm going to get +1 to my next check to block.
I think ESIC mostly is going to be rechecking his own stuff because he's not going to have enough actions to do it on your opponents. But again, I think it's going to be narrow. But I think in the decks where this is going to be good, it's going to be really good.
Yeah, I think Blue Flame Torment just it goes hand in hand with this, and I think it's very deserving of the 4 check.
Yeah, Vial Seizing. Does Vial Seizing and Blue Flame Torment share symbols?
Evil.
Yeah. So you need like an evil chaos card.
That'd be free.
Right. Okay, yeah. So yeah, you sort of play 4 of these, 4 Vial Seizing, 4 Blue Flame Torment, 4 Fiery Confrontation, and
anything. Basically, just play anything that forces your opponent to make a check.
Yeah, exactly.
And you just get to pop off, which is absolutely insane. I was going to pick Whittlegas Weather Fire as my highlight, but I think I'm going with Fortune's Favor. The fact that you get to try and build out without kind of repercussions, the fact you get to play risky actions without the repercussions of ending your turn, and the fact that every time your opponent fails a check, which we're seeing more cards that force your opponent to make check, like activating HUD and whatnot.
And there's people going to be playing actions that they can fail and doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think Joker has chaos, but I don't. You're more making your own checks there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was literally just thinking about whether the Joker kind of, but it's only your checks that fail.
If you're going against the Joker, you get to just pop off and just you're getting milled out, but you're going to have infinite to your next check.
Yeah.
How about you, Richard? What is your takeaway from these 4 rare cards?
I mean, I like the D6 one. I think it's cool and flavorful. I'm probably going to jam one in decks I shouldn't jam one in, and I'm going to roll ones, and it's going to be funny.
Storm of Blades.
Yeah,
you've got to put one in a Storm of Blades deck. Just see how it goes.
I mean, maybe, but again, it's a 3-deck foundation.
You literally can't get a worse check than Storm of Blades if you've got this.
Yeah, that is true. But generally, I play like 4 Storm of Blades, 4 Sniping Spies. So I'm playing 8 checks below a 3, and I'm trying to play a 3-deck foundation.
Yeah, but if you get it down, that means those 8 checks below a 3 are 66% more likely to pop off.
Yes, I know. I think this card's cool, and I think there's plenty of times you get in games where it's like, this needs to be a 5 or a 3, right?
My main issue is if I see this card is I'm too paranoid not to think my opponent knows how to roll dice to get the 6.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are tricks and things you can do to guarantee getting a 6, but I think most of them need like walls or certain surfaces.
Or weighted dice.
Oh, weighted dice.
Yeah.
I think if my opponent's playing Leave It to Chance, I would insist they use my dice to do the roll for it.
Yeah, again, I don't think it's necessarily going to see playing constructed, but I think the card is cool as shit.
Let me know in the comments below. What's your favourite rare monk here? Have you got any rares from other people's reveals that you think are even cooler than what we've got here? And what will you be playing? And who's got the hotter take? Is Fortune's Favour or Leave It to Chance the better rare? Which one's going to see more constructed play? Let us know down below. And feel free to tell Richard that he is wrong about it.
I'm never wrong, as everyone knows. And obviously do all the things, like, comment, subscribe, and obviously go, check out everyone else's reveals during the reveal season, all the other content creators. And obviously go sign up for your pre-release road jesses starting 20th February up until the set release on 7th of March. And then we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, we'll catch you on the next one. And enjoy yourself at your next game night. Catch you all in a bit. Bye.